Hello, I'm the Guitar Geek, and this is the TE-7 FanFret from Harley Benton. I've been waiting so long to get this guitar in my hands because I think it's one of the most beautiful things that Harley Benton have ever produced. Look at that top. That is so good looking. It's an ash body, to go talk about the woods, and it's even gorgeous on the back. Look, it's beautiful. On the front, we've got a flame maple top, which is almost certainly a veneer because I can't see any kind of Les Paul style cap or anything. And also, price point, it's going to be a veneer. Everything else, black hardware. Loving the hardware choice on these. We have a monorail bridge, which means these are all independent of each other. They're not one connected piece. We have master volume, master tone. We've got a three-way switch up here for the bridge, both, and neck pickups. Pickup-wise, we've got two Harley Benton HBZ custom wounds, the Electrosolar B for bridge, and the Electrosolar N for neck. Speaking of the neck, we have maple, NATO, maple, NATO, maple. This NATO is like a sort of rosewood kind of wood. It's also a bit mahogany-ish. What I will say is it's very smooth to the touch, and it's very nice to play. The fretboard is made of rose acer, and I don't know if they've stained it, but it's a very dark, almost black wood. It's in looks between rosewood and ebony, and I really like it. I'm a big fan of ebony, and I like the darker fretboards when you're having a dark fretboard. I don't like the sort of reddy brown ones. I think they look a little cheap, and that's a good choice. If that isn't stained, that's an amazing wood, and if it is stained, it still looks good. Let's continue to work the way up the neck and to the first gripe of the guitar, the nut. It's a graphite nut, which means that the strings are going to slide a little smoother, keep you in tune a little easier, but it looks like it's been cut with a spoon. And I'll show some close-ups of this because it really is terrible. The depth of the nut is not too bad. These edges are shockingly bad. They've even taken off some of the fretboard just here when rounding that off with their spoon or possibly a fork. There's a bit here that's been chipped away, and I don't know if that was done in transit or in setup, but it doesn't really matter. It looks terrible. Luckily, it doesn't affect the playing of the guitar, but a major gripe is that nasty looking nut. Two string trees, bog standard cheapo string trees, they do their job. On to an exciting addition. The tuners. They're locking tuners. Look at those. Pinwheel locking tuners on a Harley Benton, finally. These sort of tuners should be the standard now because they may be a tad more expensive, but they add so much to the final guitar product because if they were not locking tuners, that's one of the first things I would change. With these, even though through testing they are a little unresponsive, should we say, you can turn a little bit and it doesn't seem to catch the string, but they do hold it well in tune. Very happy with these tuners, Harley Benton. Well done. That being said, you might notice this string poking out just here. That's because I had to change the string because whilst tuning, the string broke. I was playing about with it quite a lot. This is in fact the third time I've tried to film this video due to technical errors with the new camera and the new microphone. But the first video was an out-of-the-box review and it had its all stuff brand new and it was looking good. There was no new string. By this video, I'd played the guitar quite a bit. I broke the string. My doing. I was messing about. Let's look at the back of the guitar. We've got 7 black ferrules, we've got 5 neck bolts and a partridge in a pear tree. Access to the switch, access to all the cavity stuff, which we'll look at later. The neck is in there nice and tight. I've had Harley Bentons before, and indeed other brand of cheap guitars, where this was cut pretty badly, and you could really sort of see the wood chipped away. But this one is, even though not in the realms of a €1,000 guitar, this thing is cut well, and it's tight in there. It's got a good fit. Speaking of pricing, it's currently on the Thomann website for €298, which is this much in dollars and pounds. That's a great price for a FanFret 7-string guitar, if the guitar performs well. If the guitar's rubbish, it doesn't matter how much it costs. As I've mentioned before, I love the look of the body, I love the look of the fretboard, and as a player and as an audience member, I think that's a stunning looking guitar. However, you get to the headstock and I'm not a big fan of that. The headstock, it looks like they designed the guitar really well, and they designed, and all this looks lovely, 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 lovely. Then they got to the headstock and they just sort of forgot to design some sort of ornate, or at least nice looking headstock. I'm not talking the shape, I'm actually talking what's on there. I don't think the Harley Benton logo goes well with the rest of the guitar. I do love, however, this body cutaway. That makes this very, very heavy guitar easier to play. The TE-7 is heavy, and I'm talking Les Paul, almost bass guitar heavy. And I'm going to put a strap on it now to show you what it looks like and if there's any neck dive. And I've done this video twice already, so I know the answer. Strap is on, standing up, playing. That's its natural position. That's where it wants to sit. That ain't good. Now, I love my SG, and it has almost no neck dive on it whatsoever. But when I play that guitar, I use a sort of suede leather strap. This is a very shiny strap, and it's sliding all up and down my t-shirt. Be warned, if you're going to wear spandex while playing this, be prepared to hold that neck and that head up all night. Regarding the neck dive issue, the guitar also wants to go that way a little. It doesn't seem to be comfortable sitting up. It always wants to tip down there. The neck is a modern C-style profile, and it feels so big, so chunky in my hands. Not in this direction, but certainly there. It's like one of those school classical Spanish guitars that you start out with. Because it feels wide in that direction, it feels rather thin in this direction, which it is. It's not sort of Ibanez Wizard thin, but it is not so chunky. It's very, very comfy after you get used to it. Pros of the guitar. It is 298 euros. More pros. It stays in tune. It's well put together. It's extremely comfortable to play. Out of the box, the guitar plays really well. There's nothing that would stop me from being able to learn guitar on this if I was learning from scratch. I haven't yet talked about how the guitar feels. The neck is a satin finish, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's slidey, it's slippery. There's nothing stopping you from going up and down there and playing all day long. I hate when necks are poly and sticky and horrible and toy-like. This thing is a real piece of wood. There's a real thin coat on there. They've done a really good job. The body is a matte finish. A little bit like the Jim Root Telecaster that I had. I had the Squire version, but I believe the Fender version is the same. It's matte, and you can sort of just caress it like this. You don't stick anywhere. I think it's a great feeling guitar. It does feel more like a baritone, but it isn't. It's got 24 frets, but it's a standard guitar, 7-string. It is more SG than it is Tele or Les Paul, and once you get used to that, it's absolutely great to hold and play. I've had a bunch of fun with it so far. Pickup time. The bridge pickup is wonderful. This is my home. I've stayed there throughout the hours of playing this guitar. I'm not too fond of the neck pickup over here. It's a little bit too dark, a bit too muddy. And I was thinking, why have two pickups? Just stick one in there and be done with it and maybe lower the price. However, I then found that the middle position with these two pickups in parallel is so good. It thickens up that bridge a little bit without making it too dark. If you're going to switch to a lead line, you can go straight over to that neck pickup and thicken that sound up. Originally, I was going to complain that they didn't need a second pickup. I've changed my mind. I was wrong. Sorry, Harley Benton. Bad news about the frets, they could be polished. They need a bit of a clean. They're not spiky or scratchy or sharp in any way, but they could be cleaner. Good news about the frets, there's no spouting frets. Nothing there is overhanging, and you often find with these cheaper guitars they use cheaper wood which hasn't quite dried out. So by the time you get the guitar in your hands, the neck has shrunk a little bit in this direction, leaving the previously fine frets overhanging. Not the case with this one. Wonderful job, Harley Benton. Well done. Now, you probably know that I like to mod stuff on this channel, and if I were to buy this as a modding platform, I would change the nut for sure. That's not even a mod, that's just a terrible nut. It does its job, but just looking at it makes me want to cry. The pickups would stay. If I really wanted to spend some money, I might look at changing this one, but that one would definitely stay. It gives me everything I want from a 7-string FanFret sort of sound. The switch is absolutely fine, there's nothing wrong going on there. I'm going to crack it open and we'll have a look inside and see how the wiring is. I want to see if the quality in here matches the quality outside. Inside we've got some sawdust and the wires. We've got an earth wire coming from everywhere. This one looks extremely thin, but it is quite sturdy. It's passed its QC on the 11th of April 2018. Capacitor and standard wire. I like how they've tied these wires off, keeping them nice and tidy. This looks like conductive paint, but I'm not sure if it actually is. That's a plus point. It's so well cut that I can't get the flipping thing out. That's really tight in there. There's a lot of wiring going on in such a small place. Rewiring that would be a pig, but I believe those, I think these might be 4-wire humbuckers, which means if they are, yeah, they are. Okay, that's really good news. These are 4-wire humbuckers, which means that you can coil split them if you wanted to. That's a good feature. The jack socket, I had a few issues with this, even though the connection itself is good. After a few times of unplugging this and plugging it back in, it became loose, this nut just here, as it often does on some guitars of this price point. I had to unscrew it and then fix it and put it back in. That's the difference between a guitar working and a guitar not working. That's kind of unforgivable, really, because I've seen guitars for sale that are broken just because the jack socket's loose, because not everyone can fix that. If you get one of these, make sure you know how to do that, and there'll be somewhere on YouTube where you can find a guide, maybe even on my channel. A big test is to see whether the machine heads are straight, and if I can hold that, maybe I can zoom in. The two end ones seem a little bit off to me, so they should be going in a straight line in this direction, and they're almost there. They're a bit wibbly wobbly, and even though that doesn't affect the playing, it's nice to know that they are straight. It's my job to look at these small, finicky little things, and yeah, it could be better, but it could be a darn sight worse. Speaking of which, where the fretboard joins the neck, it looks a little bit rough on this wood here. They could have smoothed that out. It looks like they've gone in with a spoon in certain places. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's certainly not the best. It doesn't affect the playing, however. With these locking tuners, what you generally do is you pull the string through fairly tight, lock it off with the pinwheel, and then tune it. However, this one does not do drop tuning because it's stuck on B, and if you try and tune it, let me just crank this up a little bit. That's the lowest it will go. That's the longest that string will get because it's now straight-ish. So I can't go any lower than that note. So even if I tune this in the wrong direction, you can hear that note increase in pitch. So if you want to drop tune this, you're going to have to put a new string on it, put a few winds around that pole before you even start playing. Throughout this demo, I've run this guitar straight into my tuner, into the Bad Monkey Tube Screamer clone, into the Decimator from ISP Technologies, that's the Model 2 for noise reduction. I've got the Orange Micro Dark and the Harley Benton Vertical G212V for vintage 30s from Celestion. The best way for me to summarize is to say that I am new to the world of 7 strings and the world of FanFrets, and this is the perfect guitar for me to get into that without spending too much money. It's currently €298 at Thomann, and that's a great price to add something else to my studio. There's nothing else here that's FanFret, or indeed nothing else with 7 strings. So this guitar is probably going to be staying with me. There we are. Give me a thumbs up, leave me any comment you want down below, but if you've made it this far, don't forget to include the word monorail in that comment to let me know that you've made it to the end. If you like what you see and you want to see more of this sort of stuff, then subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again in the future. I'm the Guitar Geek, thanks for watching, bye bye.